Hey, happy Spiritual Sunday. Welcome to those of you who are online joining us here and those of you who are in Boca. It's another beautiful Sunday in sunny Florida. I don't know about you. I just took a trip. I went to go visit my family in LA a couple weeks ago, and I missed all the floods. So from my point of view, Florida just remained nice and sunny and, warm and all of that. From people who were here, they had a different point of view. Right? And this is one of the things that we understand, which we're going to affirm here in a moment, but consciousness is everything. Right? For those of you who were here and saw the flooding and, heavy rains, okay, you had your challenges, difficulty, maybe you liked it, you didn't. I didn't see it at all. So did it happen or didn't it? Depends on your point of view, right? So is the world good or bad? Depends on your point of view. Are people good or bad? Depends on your point of view. It depends on how your eyes see things determines whether you see things good or bad. And unfortunately, the way we see things good or bad determines our response. And then our response determines what we're going to do next. Right? I mean, if you think about every interaction you have, your actions, your response to them is based on how you've interpreted that situation. So if you interpret it in a negative way, you're going to deal with it in a negative way. If you interpret it in a positive way, at least from your side, then you're going to deal with it in a positive way. And since we all understand the idea of cause and effect, what goes around comes around, karma, tikkun, whatever name you give it, whatever you put out in the universe is going to come back to you. So the better we can see life, and that doesn't mean that I'm telling you be blind to the negative things that are happening in the world, but be blind to the part where you make it your reality. That's the key. So Karen, even though she left the world, it's going on 4 years ago, she's still inspiring me through this book. So before we say our affirmation, as people are populating from around the world here, oh look, Hong Kong, Las Vegas already with us. Orlando and Dragana from Macedonia. Very consistent. So just a short thought from Karen Berg. She says like this: spirituality doesn't exist only in the temple where we pray, nor does it exist only in our prayers. Spirituality is learning to let go of a person who is nasty, jealous, envious, and to learn to say, that's his karma, and it's between him and the Creator. Another person's karma is not our problem. Another person's karma is not our problem. If we take it on, if we take it on. The word if means what? We have a choice. It doesn't mean we have to take it on. If we take it on, then we delay the removal of pain and suffering from the collectivity of humanity, and we therefore delay our own destiny. So every moment of every day, we have a choice to decide what our future and what our destiny is going to be. And so, before we get into the rest of today, let's do our affirmation. We're going to say it together because we know an affirmation is not just like a positive thinking. You're actually engraving in your brain the truth. Because sadly, for millennium, we've engraved the falsehoods and the lies in our brain. So it tends to be the automatic behavior every time one of our buttons is being pushed. We just go right into that muscle memory. Well, the last time somebody criticized me and I lambasted them right back, they backed off, they apologized, they kowtowed, they gave in. So now I have positive feedback that I should continue to be negative, beat them, stronger than they beat me. But if you understand the law of cause and effect, then whatever I put out into the cosmos is going to come back to me. So every week we make this affirmation to put the truth in our consciousness and give us another opportunity, like we read from Karen, to not choose taking on other people's karma, or we call it tikkun. So let's do it together. Those of you online, say it loud so we can hear you here through the internet. Together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. So the essential part of that, well, not essential, but if you wake up and you see the miracles and wonders of life, then right off the bat, how do you feel about your day? If you woke up and just realized the fact you woke up is miraculous, would you have the same, I don't know, grief, sadness, resistance? I don't know, you already put like the cloud over you in the morning? No, you'd wake up if you thought, I mean, how many times you hear those stories, people who survive a near accident, they survive some major illness or whatever, and like for 3 minutes, they're all excited about life, everybody's great, everything's great, and unfortunately, slowly, if they haven't made a true shift of consciousness, then it slowly wears off. I grew up in California, so I didn't quite get it until I came to study Kabbalah, but I saw what happened, the conditions. There'd be an earthquake, and even in big apartment buildings, and even here in Florida, so you have a neighborhood or whatever, and you walk around, and every now and then you just kind of acknowledge everybody. You really don't get to know most of them, right? But you walk by, okay, hi, hi, hi. So an earthquake would come, and people all of a sudden would take their neighbors and come, let me, wash off your wounds or come and feed you or give you something. Everybody helping everybody else. Now they fix the damage, and about 3 months later, everybody's gone back to the same thing. Even the people who were helping each other in that moment, very rarely would it stay a lasting friendship. Look at 9/11. 9/11, people came from all over the world to come help dig, looking for survivors and things like that. How long did that last? Do you still see that same enthusiasm to help other people? Not really. It wears off. Why? Because like we say, consciousness is everything. Our perception is everything. So after a little while, suddenly people look out and they say, oh no, look at all the chaos that's still in the world. And then like we said, they interpret it in a bad way, respond in a bad way, and they keep snowballing the bad stuff. So we want to make that shift. So what I wanted to talk about today, that essentially, it's not a new concept. And in fact, I'm going to read to you from Rav Ashlag, the founder of the center, which is now over 100 years. But there's nothing personal. If you really, really get down to it, there's nothing personal in our world. I mean, you think, no, I have a personal bank account. I have a personal home. I have a personal car. I have a lot of personal things. But we're going to see today that it's not really personal. There is nothing that is truly personal. But I want to not only just talk about it spiritually, because some people still need a little bit of, let's say, 1% physical, material world evidence. So like my teacher, the Rav and Karen, and now every now and if you listen to Michael Berg, he'll do the same thing. He'll quote from scientists on the illusion of time, the illusion of physicality, in different ways that science is starting to catch up. The Rav Berg used to say, Kabbalah is 50th century science, and the scientists were in the 20th century. So they were only 3,000 years behind, but starting to catch up. Quantum physics, right, is thousands of years old in Kabbalistic teaching, but it's new to a lot of people in the physical material world. So a couple of things that I wanted to remind you of. One is quantum physics. What does quantum physics say, essentially? That what every person does around the world affects every other person. Everything done in any part of the world is affecting everybody else. And I did Google it to make sure. And then there's another part of this. If you don't believe science, what about psychology? So if you ask people, and the way I heard it the first time was related to dreams. Because if they don't study Kabbalah, they have no concept where dreams come from. So what do they say? They use the term collective unconscious. But they're not conscious of what they're saying. What does it mean, a collective unconscious? And I Googled this just to make sure that the definition was right. What do they say? That every human being on earth is on an unconscious level interactive and affecting every other person on earth. So they're finally catching up. But unfortunately, they haven't yet explained to people how to use that to your benefit and or to understand how it's a detriment to you. But they're still saying everyone is interconnected with everybody else. Okay, we have enough mystical stuff, so I'll skip the one they're telling me in my head. So let's go to this. Let's understand it this way. Think about it. We started with Adam and Eve. Even before Adam and Eve, okay, we all know the story of Adam and Eve, yes? Where did Eve come from, according to the story? From the rib or the bone of Adam, right? Well, then let's stop and be conscious. We just affirmed consciousness is everything. So before that bone was taken out and built into Eve, what existed on earth? And if you read carefully, even in the literal Bible, chapter 1 of Genesis, there was one being. God created, which we know, in fact, this last section of the Zohar says, woe to the person who takes the 5 books of Moses only as a set of stories. Not that we don't believe we believe. There was an Adam and Eve and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and all of that, but we don't believe that's the limit of what wisdom it has to teach us. It's like, my favorite example is Thomas Edison. If I wrote a book and I said Thomas Edison woke up in the morning, had breakfast, went to the lab, he did a lot of experiments to create the light bulb, and he failed, so he went home, he watched a little TV, then he went to sleep, he got up, and I tell you his life story. Do you really care? No, you just want to know how to use the light bulb, right? So the whole story of Thomas Edison, he lived, he did, experimented 10,000 times to create the tungsten or find the tungsten to create a light bulb. We just want to have the light bulb. So too, then, we want to understand the stories of the Bible in a way that will help us today in 2024. So before there was Adam and Eve, there was one being. And it says very simply, it was both male and female. So Kabbalah 1, about class 6, we teach, out of the endless world came one being, one soul filled with the light of the Creator. Then it split into Adam and Eve. So if you go from there, then Adam and Eve had kids, right? Cain and Abel. Then they had Seth, and all of them started having, and what happened? That one being eventually divided into 8.5 billion bodies. The Kabbalists say, though, the soul essentially does not divide. So even though you and I have an energy we call our soul inside of us that gives us life, breath, the ability to think and do and all of that, but it's still one soul, even though we're 8.5 billion people on the planet. It's a spiritual internet. We have to think that simple. We are on a spiritual internet. There's one internet, but there's 8.5 billion terminals. Like I have my cell phone here, right? Here's the computer. You have probably your phones, and people watching us are watching on a computer or iPad or a cell phone or whatever, but it's still on one internet. So we really need to grasp that concept. That the only thing we did, we came out of the endless world, and I don't want to give you all of Kabbalah 1. I probably can't do it. Okay, I could do it, but okay. So let's just make it simple. In the endless world, before the Big Bang, the Creator created one soul, which we call a vessel, a container, filled it with its infinite light. From my point of view, what I understand Kabbalistically, that's the end of the Creator's job. The Creator simply wanted to take its light and share it in order to make it manifest, to reveal light. Once it did that, job done. So then as we learn in Kabbalah 1 moving forward, this world, the creation of this world, is not God's creation. And before you start to dismiss it and go, oh my God, what is this crazy thing he's teaching us? What I will ask of you, like we say from Kabbalah 1 forward, class 1, don't believe whatever I say, don't believe what you read, but don't just dismiss it because it doesn't fit with your paradigm of the moment. Stop and let's rethink things. Unless your life is completely blissed out, somewhere, somehow, major or minor, we have to be understanding life wrongly, meaning not in alignment with the pure reason we came here, and or we're making mistakes in trying to live what we understand is the goal of life. So then there's always a new way of understanding. There's a greater picture, a bigger picture of things that we can take into ourselves. And once you live that bigger picture, your life gets better. Because like you were saying before, greater clarity. If you have greater clarity, easier to navigate life, even through and or under or around the obstacles and the challenges that come to us. But if you don't see that bigger picture, then the obstacles can stop people and create all of what we see today. The chaos, pain, suffering, delusion, hurt, anger, jealousy, greed, all the negative stuff. But I want to remind us, so we're all on that one page, at least for the rest of this lesson, that there was only one being. So that means even though today we can have our own opinions, and 8.5 billion people have different opinions on the same subjects. Tell me you don't have an issue, a life issue, that you don't know people who have the exact opposite opinion of what you think. And of course, that parasite in our head called the opponent, which I like now, 21st century, to call the original AI program, the original artificial intelligence program. We put it in there. So of course, what does it tell us the other person is? Well, they've got to be a stupid ignoramus because they don't agree with my opinion. And of course, what do you think's going on in the head of that other person who you are on the opposite side of? Their AI, which again is one internet, but of AI, the opposite, the opponent, is telling them the same thing about us. Well, this guy must be a stupid ignoramus because he doesn't see the same as I see. And once you start with that idea, and it's so simple, the concept, but you start with that and you just multiply it out 8.5 billion times, is it any wonder why there's the chaos we see in the world? Because everybody in every way, unless you're really learning and applying what we're learning here, is out fighting the other person. Even you and I, some of the nicest people on earth. Tell me there's no moment that you don't react to another person with a little bit of judgment, a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of resentment, a little bit of hurt, a little bit of guilt. A little bit, right? Nothing major, but do you not have such a thing? Why? Because in that moment you don't have clarity. In that moment you didn't stop to have consciousness. You just reacted the same way you've been reacting up to that point. So we have to start waking up and realize we only came out of the endless world as one to simply transform ourselves from behaving like the receiver of the light to acting as the emanator of the light. That's it. We didn't come here to have houses and cars and jobs and families and build cities and, I don't know, make inventions and things like that. No, that's the ways and means that we can express our purpose. Those are the ways and means and the people, places, and things by which we can share and emanate our light. But it's not the purpose of life. It's like those of you who came here, I assume, well, even if you walked, but I assume you came in a car, yes? Or a motorcycle? Okay. Right? You came in a car. So was the objective when you got in the car just to drive the car? Push the gas, put it in gear, stop at the red light, go at the green light, things like that? Was that your purpose? Or was the goal to get here for Spiritual Sunday? So then the car was a means to an end. So what the Kabbalists teach us, this whole world is a means to the end of completing our tikkun, or our karma, which is simply to stop acting like a receiver and act like a sharer. Imitate the Creator. That's it. The Creator had light, created a vessel, a receiver, shined the light. That's it. Job done. Infinite, eternal blessings. That's all we came here to do. How many of you would like to have eternal chaos? Eternal chaos? Yeah. See? Exactly. You got to think. No. But how many of you would like to have eternal bliss? Oh, yeah. Eternal bliss. What's that?
4 people.
Oh, just okay. All right. We all want eternal bliss. That's the irony. We came to have eternal bliss. We've been given everything that allows us to have eternal bliss. All we have to do is let it out 24/7, unconditionally. That's why when we affirm greater love, kindness, and compassion, because all of us, relative to most people on earth, we're pretty great people. But we're still not expressing all the love, all the compassion, all the kindness, all the generosity, all the forgiveness that we have the capability of. And therefore, whatever that percentage is, That's how fulfilled we are, how close we are to the end of our destiny, to be at 100%. So if you're shining your light 80%, there's still 20% to go. So you can still be somewhat more compassionate, kind, forgiving, tolerant, etc. And that's our job, just to look for opportunities to do that. That's it. Because what's important, and here, this is where I'm going to read to you from Rav Ashlag. Oh, let me just remind you, my notes are reminding me. So we as Adam and Eve, go back to those first two people. We were put in something called the Garden of Eden, and we were given free choice. How do you know? Because the story says, in front of us was the tree of life, eternal bliss, and the tree of knowledge, good and evil, or good and bad. So if you really stop to think about it, what does the tree of good and bad really mean? It means a life, a realm, where there is always chaos. Always chaos. Good and bad. Even if it's 10% bad and 90% good, it's still chaos. So we had the choice. So some people who are still holding on to traditional religious ideas that God is the one running the show. So for me, especially since I became a parent a few years back, I would never put, would you? Would you put something delicate and expensive, $50,000 glass delicate vase on the floor in front of a 1-year-old crawling around or running around in the living room? Would you do something like that? And then tell them, no, 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 don't touch? No, you wouldn't put it there because you know a 1-year-old doesn't understand and they're going to run, knock it off, the table will run over it, break it, throw it around, something. So if the Creator didn't want us to eat from the tree of knowledge, good and evil, why put it there in the first place? Just give us no choice, because a lot of us think we have no choice, so just take it away. But once you start understanding from that moment forward, every person on earth has made a choice to be where they are today. And I know some of you are going, he doesn't know what happened to me, what I grew up with, or think of some of the terrible situations some people are born into. If we still think it's up to the Creator, we still think it's somebody else's fault, or it's up to them or whatever, then we'll never be able to remove pain, suffering, and death from our life. Even just ours, no less everybody else. Because again, the Bible tells us we are created with the power of the Creator. And if you understand, even you want to think in the old way, hopefully now, that God created the universe, we have the power to create the universe because it's inside of us. So when you look at your life, even in simple terms, my life doesn't seem, although we're going to say that today, doesn't seem that it's the whole universe. It seems like my life. But now we're understanding no such thing. Every human being is on a spiritual internet that's impacting the entire universe. That's what we want to grasp. And it's always been our free will. So you don't like the state of the world, start making different choices. And because we're on a spiritual internet, we can affect every other human being on earth. The issue is that AI program, which is challenging us to not believe in the truth, not see the truth, wants to say, yeah, but you were so nice to that person when they were mean to you, and they're still not nice to you. Which, without going into it, and I'll just scare some of you, means that you decided they were your God. The person you're angry with, the person you reacted to, you decided they are your God. Talk about idol worship in 2024. Why? Because you decided that they are your source of fulfillment. Because when you scream at them or you resent them, you have some aspect of fulfillment. And unless you hold, like we teach, that the only source of true fulfillment is the light of the Creator, then when we react to people, we've decided that in that moment they're our God, they're our idol. Because they are a source of happiness and joy, even though it's instant, short term, but we decided in that moment they are our God, our idol. When you can pause and you say, no, let me shine light through them, wake up their soul, and out to all 8.5 billion pieces of me, because we're on one internet, then I've made them my vessel. I've made them my conduit to shine more of my light, reveal and manifest more of my light, have greater bliss, peace, clarity, happiness, joy, all the good blessings. So it's up to us to decide if that challenge, that person, is our idol or our means to an end of greater happiness, joy, and peace. So let me read to you from Rav Ashlag, and I forget if it's from On World Peace or The Thought of Creation. But he says like this: how can a single individual have influence on the entire world? So think, how many people have you ever spoken with about the chaos of this world, and people go, well, but what can we do about it? I'm only me, I'm only you, we're only 2 or 3 or 5. No. How can a single individual have influence on the entire world? And it should not surprise you that an individual can, through his own action, cause any rise or decline to the whole world. It is an immutable law that the collective and the individual are equal to each other like 2 drops of water, and everything that applies to the collective also applies to the individual. That being said, it's actually the individuals who make the collective do what it does. So everything we do is affecting the entire world. And that's why, as we started out, there's really nothing that's personal. If you want to say, okay, my car. Okay, so let me ask you, what does an accident mean? Simple terms, an accident. 2 cars meet in the middle of an intersection. Nobody hurt, but a little fender bender. That means one person's personal car affected another person's personal car. So what happened to the personal nature of their car? Suddenly it's not personal. You're walking down the street and you happen to bump into somebody, right? Just bump, like you're trying to avoid something or walking around a crowd and you just bump shoulders. What happened to your personal space and their personal space? No longer personal, even in a simple physical way, no longer personal. And I want us to think about it. What's the difference between, and I'm a Libra, so a little bit of Libra still left in me, debating which way to say this. So, okay, so let's put it this way, and you define whatever you think, whatever. But a rich person's greed, let's say in business or in politics or however you want to call that, right? Where we're looking on what we'd say is a bigger level, right? Somebody owns a business, they're affecting, whatever their business and this and this. What's the difference between that? How do you know that that business greed that doesn't look in the same way, but how do you know that's not creating somebody in the middle of Timbuktu somewhere, a poor person stealing, breaking into a house and stealing from somebody else? Tell me, honestly, what's the difference? In the essence, thievery is thievery. Greed is just another form of thievery, is it not? Trying to take from another person instead of shining light on that person in one way or another. So as we're now making the effort to learn and reinforce the idea that we're on one spiritual internet, that everybody's impacting everybody else, then that's just one way to think about it. Somebody who's in a big business or let's say a powerful position who's doing something greedy is maybe creating all over the world 50, 100, 1,000 poor people, so to speak, stealing from other people. How can you say that's not true? Because you can't see it? You can't see the connection between it? So I don't see the internet. Do you see the internet? You see X-rays, gamma rays, infrared rays? Ultraviolet rays? No. Does that mean we don't believe in it? No. That's the whole point. What we can't see doesn't mean that it's not true. So we're waking ourselves up to really understand, because if you're here, if you're watching online or you're here, in your heart and soul, you want to remove the pain and suffering from your life. And sure, on the other side, you say, also, I'd like to do that from the world. Some of us with more intensity and some maybe a little less if you're newer, but all of us want to make the world a better place. Otherwise, what are you doing here? But if we don't understand this fundamental idea that there's only one soul that happens to look like it's 8.5 billion bodies, that we're all affecting people 24 hours a day, then we cannot change the chaos in the world. Not until it becomes so overwhelmingly painful, that we'll have at that point no choice. Every now and then I still do even though I use it almost every example, but every now and then I still find myself touching the hot stove, right? I boiled a pot of water, I took it away, and even though there's that little red light that says something's still hot, every now and then I won't be paying attention and I'll run my hand over it. Ow, it hurts, right? But the moment I feel that pain, my hand pulls away because the pain hurts. I don't say, oh, this is nice and warm, let me leave my hand here. No, sometimes you could if it wasn't so hot. But if it's too hot, it's warm for the first microsecond. The second microsecond that you feel pain, you immediately take your hand away. So the Kabbalists teach us, which psychology says the same thing, 21st century, people either run towards pleasure or run away from pain. So what the Kabbalah Center is teaching us is just how to see what's happening in the world and avoid the pain and suffering. And the beauty is, the faster we want to remove our pain and suffering, the faster we're removing pain and suffering for the world. Because the only way that we can remove our pain and suffering is by shining light out to 8.5 billion people. That's it. There's no other way. There's no other way. Let me ask you, pollution. Why is pollution an issue? We're here in Boca. We're here in Florida. I don't know about where you are, but there's really not much pollution. We got the ocean, we got this and this. Why do we care? Why do we care what China or Russia or Europe or anywhere else on earth, why do we care what they're doing as far as polluting the air?
Because it affects us most.
How does it affect us? We're way over here. We could be thousands of miles away from them. Even in simple physical terms, because there's one atmosphere, which is connected to 8.5 billion people. So everything that we do here is affecting 8.5 billion people. Yeah, sometimes it takes a lot of time and effort because we're throwing a little bit out into the cosmos, right? Some people are doing extreme pollution in the cosmos. You see it faster, but it's still pollution. This is how we've got to think. We're on a spiritual internet. So you're looking at the world, and probably all of us have some situation in the world that we react to. Whichever side you pick, but you're reacting to it. If we're not sending light from our heart and soul through the spiritual internet to the heart and soul of those people, then we are empowering their spiritual mud, I like to look at it, that is the thing that we don't like. If there are people out there acting with hatred, and we're not sending light to their soul, then essentially we're empowering their hatred, their darkness. Because like I've heard for almost 40 years now in the center, my teachers thousands and thousands of times would make it simple. What's the only thing on earth that will take away darkness? Light. You can't buy off the darkness with money. You can't tell it how powerful, smart, important you are, how much brain you've got. If you don't turn on a light source, darkness will remain. So why do we think then on a spiritual level it's any different? Only the infinite light that we are all filled with, when it's shined out into the world by conscious thought of extending greater love, kindness, and compassion, etc., that's the only thing that will take away darkness. So if you're not sending light to the people out there, then all of us, major or minor, are still just empowering more negative behavior. Because like attracts like. Hatred does not remove hatred. Anger does not remove anger. Animosity does not remove animosity. Guilt does not remove guilt. So whatever we are doing here, even in the solitude of your own house, like people say, what they do in their own house doesn't affect anybody else. Well, you and I are learning that's not true. Whatever we do 24/7 is affecting everybody else. So if you really want to be protected, because now it's starting to wake up and maybe it's scaring you a little bit, which is actually a good thing. If we're not shining out of our heart and soul greater light, then we've still left a door open inside of us where 8.5 billion people, 8.5 billion people are tossing into that door even just a little bit of anger, resentment, guilt, hatred, shame, hurt, grief, resentment, etc. Because it's shining from all of us all the time. And I'm not here, I don't know what name they give it. I'm not here to sound like hellfire and damnation. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. I want to wake us up to realize, see the signs. You know, like the writing on the wall, whatever name you want to give it. Wouldn't you have liked to have bought cryptocurrency when it was like $1? I don't want to say exact one. I don't know what they're going to cut me off here for. But you know the one I mean, the B one, right? Would you have liked to have bought it at $1? Yes or no? Yeah. And don't be too spiritual. No, okay. I mean, yeah, wouldn't you? Great opportunity. Came and went. But why didn't we? Maybe some of you did. I know somebody who did. Should I tell you that? Okay, anyway. So I know somebody who did, and of course they made a lot of money. Somebody called me up years back and said, "Oh, Chaim, you have to buy this. You know what?" I said, "What is this?" It's cryptocurrency. I said, "What is that?" Couldn't explain it to me. I called up somebody that I know who does wealth management. I said, "Do you know what this cryptocurrency is?" This is like 2010, 11. He says, "No, I don't know what it is." Okay, if he doesn't know, then what do I want to bother with it for? Now you look back and don't just, would have been nice if I had, right? Could speed up a lot of the process here. So what I'm driving at is it's our opportunity. That's what I want to wake us up. If you understand that everything that we do is affecting 8.5 billion people, and like Rav Ashlag said, the individual and the collective is the same. So if you want greater protection from chaos and you want more of those blessings, just start emanating, conscious thought emanating out of your heart and soul, all the blessings to 8.5 billion people. Don't say I'm not sending to those people because look what they're doing today. Because like that person who's on the other side of your issue, they're looking at you and could be thinking the same way, right? No, by sending light, you're taking away darkness. That AI opposing program, Challenger, says, no, if you send light to the people who are doing bad actions, then you're empowering their bad actions because you're excusing their behavior. You're blessing them. No, the opposite. You're blessing them with light, which will make them feel the pain of their negative actions faster, so they won't leave their hand on the stove because it'll feel so painful, their hatred, their anger, their jealousy, their animosity, their victimization, that they'll have to stop. And because all of us come from one soul, and we all come from one creator, we're all full of the light of the creator. So nobody's missing light to share. They're just not conscious, and therefore not taking the choice to shine their light. And therefore listening to that AI program they're trying to get from everybody else. You got to give me my way, you got to give me this, you got to give me that, you got to take care of me, you got to do all this stuff for me. No, that's our fundamental purpose, objective in this world was not to be a receiver, was to transform ourselves into being God-like, light-like, by shining our light out instead of trying to get light from other people. That's it. That's it. It's so simple and fundamental. That's why we don't hold it in our mind. Because that programming is so powerful. You think AI today is powerful. Nothing more powerful than that AI program that we put in our head to challenge us so that in the end of the story, our overcoming that program, that opposition, gives us a truly experiential, visceral happiness, joy eternally for defeating that opponent, for overcoming that idea. That's it. Because we're all full of light, but like I told people yesterday, what good is it to have a $2 million check in your hand if there's nowhere to cash it? Is it any good, really? Not even worth the paper, really, because you can't do anything with it. So we're sitting here with the most powerful energy inside of us, the light of the Creator, and all we came out of the endless world was just to shine it out into the world. Sadly, we've been using that power of creation in a lot of negative ways. A lot of negative ways. So we use the rich person who does greed can affect the other. What about the opposite? What about two people having a conflict? And today, you got whatever, billions of people who are like this, right? They're having conflict, friction with each other, yes? So the Rav, way back, it's got to be 20 some odd, no, more than that, 30 some odd years ago, when they first started to talk about global warming, when it came on the scene, the Rav said, global warming is not about greenhouse gases and this, that, and the other thing. What's global warming? Like this, friction between people. More people fighting with each other. When you do this, what happens to your hand? Heats up, no? So more friction between people, with more intensity, more power behind it, goes out in the world, global warming. The AI program says, look for the cause in the physical world. No, 21st century, even the scientists and the medical people now telling us, disease comes from emotional chaos. No? If a person has emotional stress, they say the immune system weakens and therefore disease is there. I grew up, don't want to tell you how many years ago, my father was a pharmacist and he used to tell us inside our mouth 24/7 are all the germs for cold and flu. And I remember as a kid, because I wanted to be a doctor at one point, I said, so then why aren't people getting cold and flu all the time? He says, your immune system. Your immune system stops it from being impactful. But once the immune system drops, then the person will manifest cold and flu. So is the cause of the cold and flu the germs that are in the mouth 24/7 or the weakening of the immune system? So if you just expand that out on a quantum level, is the chaos of the world because of this person and that person and I don't know, this politics and this religion and that thing? No, it's from the consciousness. Weak immune system by having to get anger, jealousy, greed, insecurity, fear, guilt, shame, insensitivity, all of that weakens the person's immune system, and then all the various forms of disease, whether physical disease, emotional disease, mental disease, whatever, shows up. The disease of road rage. It's a disease. It's an ill at ease with one's soul. It's a disease. Why? Again, emotional instability, emotional weakness. Whatever one you want to point out, it's the same thing. Why do people fight? You know, okay, you can not agree with me, but we don't have to fight over it, do we? You have your opinion, I have my opinion. You live your life, I'll live my life. Okay, you have free will. The Creator gave us all free will without free will. What we're learning here in the center is how to use our free will to actually not only protect ourselves, but also change the world. Because the individual and the collective are one. That's why, okay, we'll kind of close up with this a little bit. What else was I going to say? Oh, okay. So we have to go into that. So the Rav used to say, I remember the first time I heard the Rav say it because it was shocking, because I knew the Rav for years, and the Rav and Karen were two of the most caring, sharing people that I have ever to this day met. And the only people that I know, which is the whole point of the center, that keeps 8.5 billion people in its mind 24/7. Those of you who've taken any classes in the center, you understand. The Kabbalah Center is all-inclusive. Doesn't care what your background is, where you came from, who you are, what color, race, religion, whatever. You're accepted here to learn the technology of the soul, the operating system of the soul, which is all Kabbalah is. It's not Jewish mysticism. It's not magic. It doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to the one humanity, the one soul, technology of the soul. So one day the Rav says, I am the most greedy person on earth. Think, oh my God, that's not true. What he said, and then he said, you know, those microseconds, and then he says, I want all the light for me. And then he explained, which I hope you now know, the only way I can have all my light and all my blessings is as I am shining my light out to everybody else on earth. If I reveal all my light, I will have all my blessings. So it's the most powerful way to affect 8.5 billion people to not have to go through any more pain and suffering to get back to the Garden of Eden, to get back to heaven on earth. So the more I want my peace, my protection, etc., the more you want, the more we have to send light out to the world. And the way we can start to see, and I just want to throw this in here, the Baal Shem Tov, one of the great Kabbalists hundreds of years ago, made it simple. The world is your mirror. So I'm sure all of us at some point, you look in your bathroom mirror, and if there's something you don't like there, you fix it, right? Straighten your hair, wipe off the toothpaste off your lip, whatever it is. How many of you, when you look at the mirror and you see something that doesn't look right, you go and you fix the mirror? I think some of them are. They're not giving me the laugh. Right? You don't do that. Why? Because it's ridiculous. Because you know the moment you walk away from the mirror, even though there's perfect makeup or whatever on the mirror, you walk away, you're still without the makeup or your hair is still a mess or whatever. So you don't fix the mirror. You fix you because you know the mirror is a reflection of you. So the Baal Shem Tov made it simple. You want to have feedback 24/7, where your spiritual mud is, where you're not seeing yourself objectively, look out at the world. The world is your mirror. So where you can see and get a little upset at people who are control freaks or drama kings and queens, or they're anger or jealous or hateful or this and this, look inside you where that part is in you. It may not act the same. Your fear and their fear may look different. Those people, they look like they're extremely aggressive, angry, violent, but they're coming out of fear. Maybe you and me, we have fear, we sort of back away from things like we usually think of a reaction to fear, but it's still based on fear. So when you look out and you can identify, yeah, that's a fearful person, or that's somebody who's blaming everybody else, look inside you where you're blaming someone other than you for your lot in life. Where and how. Don't look if. Doesn't mean you're blaming outside people. What about you? You ever blamed yourself? Never called yourself stupid, right? Some of us more than others, but the moment you call yourself stupid, you're blaming yourself for your lot in life, but not in a way that you're going to fix it, in a detrimental way. Yes, it's okay to say, you know, I made a mistake, let me go fix it, right? Karen used to say that's why there's erasers on pencils, because you know there's going to be a mistake. Kabbalah is teaching us the system how to repair every mistake we've ever made, ever. But not only just fix it temporarily, fix it permanently, and fix it in a way that it's as if that mistake never happened. That's getting back to the Garden of Eden. That's the power we have. And this I do want to throw out, and you have to ask, if you're taking classes, ask your teacher, or you can write to me if you want, but I wanted to sort of help us understand the urgency. Because 2,000 years ago, the Kabbalists were saying the same thing, but nobody felt the same urgency. But let me start with this first, and then I'll tell you the Kabbalistic concept. When I was in high school, the teacher would, various classes, you have whatever, a 10-page paper due in 3 weeks. Some of you, probably most of you, started right away. You go to the library, you start researching, you start writing day by day. You have 21 days to write 10 pages, right? So if you write 1 page every 2 days, you're along the way. Well, some of the rest of us, we just, 3 weeks, great. The first week do nothing, second week do nothing, right? You got 7 days left, and all of a sudden you go, oh my God, I haven't done anything. So now you got to pack all of that into 7 days. A little more stressful, a little more anxiety, right, than if you had just done a little bit every day. You follow the idea? So the Kabbalists teach us on the biblical notion that the world was created in 6 days, and the 7th day is the day of rest. So the Kabbalists explain that those each day corresponds to what we would consider 1,000 years. So that means by the year 6,000, and don't go, we're only in 2,000, I'll get there in a second. By the year 6,000, we have to, every human being on earth has to express their true God-given righteousness. No anger, no jealousy, no animosity, no guilt, no shame, or anything else. have to remove all the spiritual mud by the year 6000. That means, in that simple metaphor, the closer the deadline's coming, the more either stress you have or the faster you work to get it done. That part clear? So we are currently, according to the Kabbalistic counting, in the year 5784. So we are virtually 98% of the way done. So it's like not only the last week, but we're already like 4 days to go. You understand? Where we had 2-3 weeks to do it. That's why you see the intensity and the acceleration of not only good in the world. I've been in the center almost 40 years, and when I started in 1987, there were 3 tiny offices in the world and maybe 300 people. And yes, back then, most of them were Persian and Israeli Jews. Now, some of you watching, I got friends in Hong Kong. Some of the students in Hong Kong, Macedonia, they're watching. We have a center in Beirut, Lebanon, which is not necessarily known as a Jewish area, right? A center taught by a Muslim woman. Because she believes, like all of us, the Kabbalah is the only thing that's hope for the world. We'll remove the pain and suffering by putting everyone on the same spiritual technology, methodology, but expressed in your own way, like my phone. It's on the same internet as yours, right? But I can look up what I want, I can text what I want, I can call what I need, you call what you need, but it's still one operating system. So we have all over the world thousands and thousands. So that has also accelerated. We just want to make it faster. At the same time, you look at the world and you see the pain and suffering is accelerated. The intensity of divisiveness, more than ever in my lifetime this time, and probably if you look back in your life, you see the same thing. But now you understand why. You can't just say, well, I don't know, population getting more. No, because if people aren't changing, and they're still listening to the AI of the opponent pointing out at them. If you get rid of those people, I'll be happy. You get rid of that thing, I'll be happy. That's what people are doing out there. That's where the chaos is coming from. Right? Get rid of whatever is not, like you and I, we've done it on our life. You don't like somebody or something, so you X them out of your life. Now you think you're happier. But isn't it amazing how somehow life brings you somebody else that's the identical person, just a different body? Right? They just look different, but it's the same thing over and over again. Or the same thing in any part of your life. Same bad job, same bad boss, same bad employees, same bad relationship, whatever it may be. It's the same thing over and over again. It just looks different. That's intensifying. Because the Zohar told us 2,000 years ago in its written form, this time what we see now. The intensity, the gray is moving out. It's either moving into the darkness or into the light. My way or the highway. That's how it's going. And so I wanted just to wake it up and realize, yes, like Rav Ashlag said, every one of us is affecting every other person on earth. So if we start working together, which is why Karen told the Rav, you have to gather people, you have to make Kabbalah centers. Find people who will teach people all over the world, get them all on the same page, because that's the only way we can speed up the process to not have to have pain, suffering, and death till the year 6000. Any day now we can change it. Simple terms, okay. The prophet Jeremiah says in a blink of an eye it could happen. Think about it. You walk in your house. How long does it take the darkness to go away when you turn the light on? Is it a 10-second process? 20-second process? No, it's instantaneous. So all we need, and the purpose of the center, is gather enough people, shining enough light that you create what's called the critical mass. Like a balance. If you have 50-50, one action will change the balance, right? You have 10,000 sesame seeds on one side, 10,000 on the other side. One sesame seed, one tiny little sesame seed is going to change the balance. Every action we do could be the action that changes the balance and does in some way or another. I assure you, and we're going to end here because I want to do the meditation and I know I'm taking a little more time. There's got to be, out of 8.5 billion people, including you and me, let me ask you right now, do any of you have some situation in your life that you're a little confused with making a decision? Yes or no?
Yes.
No, yes, right? You're not sure. Should I do this or this? So if you think about it, what are you saying? Your decision is exactly balanced. You're not sure A or B. If somebody out there, one of the 8 billion, or you and I, sending more light out into the world, you and I could be at that moment, because we're on that internet, be pushed to say, now I have greater clarity. I see this is the way I should go. This is going to bring me more light in the long term. This is going to bring me more blessing, etc., etc. So when we're putting light out there, you may not see it with your eyes, but there have to be thousands, tens of thousands of people out of the billions that are at that same place. They're not sure go this way or that way, this way or that way, major or minor. How do you know there's not somebody out there saying, you know what? They hate their neighbor or this person so badly that they've got a gun and they're debating to go kill that person with a gun. And you and I sending a little more light, maybe even our meditation that we're going to do here on one of the 72 names in a few minutes, how do you know that's not making that person wake up and say, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. I'm going to find another way. And I could tell you a story like that. Okay, just briefly. Years ago, we used to go knocking on the doors, and I thank you for your patience. We used to go knocking on doors to introduce Kabbalah to people. I did it for the first 11 years I was in the center because there was no internet. There was really nobody else talking about Kabbalah, whatever. We're knocking on the doors. So one of the teachers was in France. I was knocking on doors, and just to give you the quick story, he got lost. Such a wonderful person, Blenera. But he got lost. And he says to himself, I don't want to waste time. He saw an apartment building and he just went to go knock on doors, right? The light is in the business if you're just a channel of light. So he knocks on a door. This guy opens the door. To cut to the chase, this guy had a gun in his hand. He thought the knock on the door was his business partner who he was determined to shoot dead when he came in. And this teacher came in, and because of that conversation, whatever about Kabbalah, something like the guy knocks on the door about 10 minutes later, the partner opens the door and he says, you see this guy here? He saved your life. So every time we're sending light out, you're scanning your Zohar, you're doing an Bakach, or we'll do the meditation on one of the 72 names, you have no idea how many people out there that you're pushing on the balance of the light, the side of the light, because they're exactly in that moment of indecision, this or this. For you and me, what job to take? Okay, but that also, in the long run, is a big decision. Some people out there like this guy, kill somebody or not kill somebody, or violence or not violence, or thievery or whatever, and we're changing the balance of power. That's what we're awakening today. Do we have that kind of impact? And just because you don't see it, doesn't mean you don't get in return from those 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 people whose life you just directly affected for the better. Everything goes out, comes back to you. So don't ever forget that, like we read from Karen. Put more light out in the world, it comes back to you. Don't be caught up in the other person's karma. So they want to be nasty? Why should you be nasty? Then when it comes back to them, not only you getting because of your behavior, but you're getting a little piece of their nastiness coming back to them too. Because you just helped empower it. So it's either exponentially on the light side, you put light out there, or exponentially on the darkness, one or the other. So the beauty is we have the free choice, we have the free will, we have the capability, we have all the resources, we just have to decide. It's time now. Commit, just find more ways every day to put more light, more light, more light. And when you remember, even at the end of the day, you remember, you know what, I was a little short-tempered with that person. So in your mind's eye, just close your eyes, go back to that situation, extend a beam of light from your heart and soul through the you that was a little short-tempered, and then send light through that part of you, that version of you, to that person. I'm so sorry I was, angry at you, I said something to you, please forgive me. Now, at least from your side, you've revealed light instead of remaining darkness. And you've just changed your destiny. You've changed your tomorrow and every tomorrow after that. Because light is eternal and real. There's no fake light. Over the years, people say, okay, so I get the idea I should send light, but what if it's kind of fake? I'll fake it till I make it. No such thing as fake light. You may only be sending one photon of light, but it's real light, takes away one photon of darkness from you, and awakens one photon of light in the other person. So sure, we can be more intense, but there's no fake light. Don't let that program in there make you believe fake it till you make it. No such thing. You send real light because yesterday you didn't have the consciousness to send light. Today you have the consciousness. It's real light. It's not fake. Yeah, okay. More. Tomorrow maybe you'll decide, oh, that felt pretty good. Let me do some more. Some more because I see it starting to come back to me. Okay, that's great. We can all do more. But don't ever think that any action or any person is disposable or, is unnecessary or unimpactful. Everything is. So if we're realizing the deadline is coming soon, and don't let 200 years sound like a lot, it's 98% of the way finished, which is why we're all feeling already part of the pain and suffering of today and what, heaven forbid, a zillion times might have to be. And we can also start to feel heaven on earth right now. And then it's only up to us. It's here. All we have to do is take away enough of the covering to make it show up. And it's in the hands of every single one of us. And the Kabbalists literally say that 10 people in full unity can make it happen. 10 out of 8.5 billion in full unity. Okay, full unity is a pretty difficult thing. There's another level that they say only 22,000 people, even in partial unity, could make the change for the world. Okay, even that, gathering 22, I'd like to think I'm becoming one of those 22,000. But the reason why Karen and the Rav started the center, if you have 1 million people that are, let's say, at 10%, 20%, that could be the critical mass. So the more people we gather, the more people that we touch heart and soul with the light, the faster we get that critical mass of light, not the critical mass of people, the critical mass of life, and we shift the chaos in this world, because chaos is just order waiting to happen. Chaos is not eternal. It's order waiting to happen. So the Garden of Eden is waiting. All we have to do is send enough light to get the hell out of Dodge and bring back the heaven on earth. God bless. Okay. Okay. So, for those of you who are newer, thank you for joining us. But it is a free will offering. Donations are always welcome, and we're looking just how to empower whatever we do here. Spreading if you are new, make sure you don't leave today. And those of you online, you can go online to the store. Pocket Zohar. It just, even though it looks like a book, it's the most powerful. Every now and then I see these ads for powerful flashlights. This is a military flashlight. It shines a mile and stuff like this. This is the most powerful beacon of light, but it's the light of the Creator. That's what Zohar is. That's all it means, illumination. So we made this size pocket Zohar. You could keep it in your pocket, your purse, everywhere. So at least have that with you, because if you're in a sphere of light, everywhere you move, darkness has to move away more and more. Right? Like the people used to go with a lantern in the caves or whatever, right? Wherever you go, you're in a sphere of light. So how much more, right? You take a little piece of the Zohar with you, you're in that much more light and protection. And we could go on for another 3 days probably telling you miracles like that, but at least do that. So you're empowering that with your donation, supporting, just here in this case, the physical center to exist, because we have yet to find whoever's in charge of FPL to give us free electricity and power, and the people to give us free rent, etc. But remember, whatever you give is come back to you. And so in this case, which is why we always take this moment just to put blessing, put our consciousness into it. And give me a second here. I'm going to put it online for those of you with us. And then we're going to use preview, one of the names of God, 72 names of God, in a meditation. So let me do this first for them. Okay. So just hold whatever you want to offer, just hold it in your hand. Money is a vessel. And like any vessel, it will pour out into the world whatever you put in it. And so we take this moment just to put our love, our gratitude, our peace, appreciation, just infusing this gift, this offering, with the most powerful light of the Creator from our heart and soul that we can muster in this moment. knowing that through the center it literally goes to the heart and soul of 8.5 billion people, wakes up the power of the light force of the Creator inside every one of us to the next level up, giving us greater clarity of how we can transcend whatever challenges, obstacles, difficulties the five sense world shows us, to apply the light of the Creator and the true immutable laws of peace, love, and harmony, to turn that chaos into order, and to wake up the heart and soul of every person on earth to, one, feel more of their true power of the light inside them, and at the same time, enough discomfort with their negative actions and negative behavior that they will change and to act more light-like, more loving, more kind, more compassionate. We appreciate all that we have, all that we've been given. And we know that by sending it out to truly awaken the eternal light in the soul of every human being on earth, that the blessing that comes back to us is many, many times over, not only in prosperity, but in health, peace, love, and protection. And together we say, Amen. So for those of you that are newer, this is one of the 72 names of God. For those of you here in the room, you look on your left, you see the chart has all 72 names. Name of God simply means an attribute. Like we could say God is love, God is kindness, God is joy, happiness, prosperity, health, etc. So each one of these three letter combinations, and yes, for some of you, you say, oh, those are Hebrew letters. I don't understand them. You don't have to, because they just shine the light of the Creator. Like photons in the physical world, they're photons of light, unique frequencies of energy. So in this case, Vav, Shin, Resh, this combination to break the cycle of pointing at other people, the cycle of blaming and looking outside of us for anything that looks like harmony, peace, or joy, but to break that cycle and start looking from within and know that we have the power to just emanate the light, remove the darkness, and reveal the prosperity, health, peace, clarity, joy, love, all the good things that are inside of us. So we want to, especially relative to today, we want for every human being on earth to break their cycle of negativity, giving into the illusion, and believing that the five sense world is true. We want to understand it as an illusion, and we want to bring the reality of the pure light of the Creator, heaven on earth, to shine into this world. So just look at it, Vav, Shin, Resh. You can remember the names. Let the shapes just be engraved in your mind's eye. And then I'll ask you, just sit comfortably in your chair, feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap. Taking a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose. Hold the breath for a moment. Exhale through your mouth. Increasing the circulation of the light in what's called the breath of life. Letting this light through the breath, through the air, flow through you head to toe, increasing and strengthening that life force, and allowing yourself to relax into the warmth and this vibration of unconditional love that is the light in you and all around you. Just allow yourself to feel the light awakening inside. Feel the embrace of this infinite light that's surrounding you. Allow yourself a more conscious connection, sense of the light. Together in unity, we envision the Vav Shin Resh just above your head, envisioning these 3 nanoparticles of the light of the Creator, conduits from the endless world into this world. Just see the Vav Shin Resh shining with infinite light, vibrating with unconditional love. The power to change our destiny by breaking the cycles, the repetitive cycles of negativity we found ourselves in. Vav Shin Resh. Slowly allow this name, these energies to enter through the top of your head, activating the light force in every cell of your being, starting with the consciousness that the voice of the light in your brain be louder, clearer than the voice of that opponent. This is also the time to ask for support, knowing the light is your strength. The light is clarity and guidance. And as you're bringing the Vav Shin Resh into your brain, to your consciousness, ask for support, guidance, and clarity to break whatever cycle you found yourself in, repeated patterns of negativity. Where you found yourself caught in the same facet of judgment on others. And allow the Vav Shin Resh to flow, continue from head to toe, especially intensifying the awakening of light in your heart as it passes through, and your soul, which is your full reservoir of the light of the Creator. To transform the vision from seeing the darkness, the illusion, the chaos of the physical 1% world, to open the eyes of your heart to see the light in every person, the infinite light behind the curtain of the illusions we see, and thereby having greater strength, greater effectiveness to bring that light to bear in the darkness of the material physical world. That the light becomes brighter in the eyes of every human being on earth. That the awakening of the light of the Creator in every soul waking up. That in that awakening, the clear, conscious realization that we are truly one soul, and therefore to my benefit, to each of our individual benefits, to shine light out to every human being on earth, connecting with the light in their soul. Let's consciously beam that light, Vav Shin Resh, out of our heart and soul, reaching out to the heart and soul of every human being on earth. Feeling the energy as it flows through you with more power, intensity. Sending it particularly with conscious direction to the people, places, situations that you've had some chaos with. To remove the veils of illusion, to see how the light has been there, is there, and now being revealed by your shining the light into those areas, to those people. And as you stand back to look at the entire world, see that same awakening, that same transformation in every person, in every part of the world. That your eyes can see the beginnings of the full revelation of heaven on earth as the veils disappear and you see through those beams of light more and more heaven on earth, more and more of the Garden of Eden, more of that vision in your heart of peace on earth and unity and love among all people. Vav Shin Resh. Take note how you're feeling. That greater sense of peace, serenity, clarity, certainty in your abilities to channel the light, remove the darkness, awaken more souls to join in this path to bring peace and harmony to the entire world. Remember the inspiration, the guidance that you've received. And together we'll take one more deep breath to anchor it in, record it in our heart and soul. And as you exhale, slowly opening your eyes. Have an amazing week. Thank you for joining us. Keep spreading the good word and spread the Zohar. That's our ultimate mission. More of this on earth, the faster we get there. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.